I sat in the waiting hall, my eyes fixed on the large screen ahead. Blake stood beside Kendall. She wore a dazzling white wedding dress, walking down the aisle with a radiant smile. But Blake's brow was furrowed, his face dark, and his attention was completely absorbed by the phone he gripped tightly in his hand. As if on cue, my phone rang, the screen lighting up with his name. I took a breath, glancing at the screen before answering. Laura. His voice cracked with anger, sharp and demanding. What do you want from me, Mr. Wilson? I responded, my tone calm and measured. Does it seem fitting to call me in the middle of your wedding? At that moment, I noticed a few people in the airport started to murmur. He took a deep breath, his voice low and frustrated. Do you really want me to marry someone else? I did and hesitate. Who you marry has nothing to do with me. I'm boarding my flight now. Getting on a flight. Where are you going? Laura. Without a word, I hit the hang up button, silencing his voice, leaving only the echo of my own thoughts in the silence. I looked up, and the once perfect wedding broadcast had descended into complete chaos. Blake stormed forward, knocking the bouquet from Kendall's hands. Stop filming. Everyone get out, he barked. In the chaos, Kendall was shoved to the ground, her fall awkward and graceless. She looked up, her eyes red, filled with disbelief, as she stared at Blake. Blake, what are you doing? This is our wedding day. What wedding? Blake's voice was harsh, laced with bitterness. I'm not marrying you. His eyes flared with hostility. I never loved you, and I never wanted to marry you. Kendall's face twisted with shock, her voice trembling. What did you say? You don't love me? You don't want to marry me? How can that be? You promised? Blake, she cried, her words coming faster now. You said you would wait for me to grow up, that you would marry me. How can you say you don't love me? Tears streamed down her face as she reached for him, desperate. Is there something I did wrong? I'll change, just don't leave me. But Blake's gaze hardened. He pushed her away without a second thought. Get away from me. He stormed off, and in the final moments of the broadcast, Kendall ripped her veil apart, her sobs echoing in the room as the camera caught her breaking down. The stream ended in silence. At the sound of the boarding announcement, I walked forward, my pace steady and determined, not sparing a glance behind. My phone continued to ring relentlessly. Unfamiliar numbers flashed on the screen and an endless stream of messages flooded in. I knew exactly who they were from. Blake. His calls ranged from questioning to threatening, and in the end, they morphed into desperate pleas, hoping I would walk away for good. But I did give in. Before I boarded, I removed my SIM card and tossed it into the trash, just as I had discarded the past 5 years of my life. The memories of being trapped, bound by a love that never truly existed, were gone in an instant. 1 week after arriving in the UK, my designs were finally granted exhibition approval. Yet, the night before the opening, I received a shocking message. The exhibition hall refused to showcase works from a designer with a tarnished reputation. As I pondered how I had suddenly become a disgraced designer, Riker appeared. He brought me news that would soon shake the calm I had tried to build. Something had happened back home. Kendall had stepped into the spotlight, presenting herself as the victim in a tragic tale of betrayal. She accused Blake of deceiving her, promising her a title, only to call off their wedding in front of the world. The live broadcast showed Kendall crying uncontrollably. Her tears stained the makeup she had so carefully applied. And then, her words cut through the air like a knife. I do know what you said to Blake, but he clearly loved me before. He even designed a wedding dress just for me, planned this magnificent wedding, all for me. You two are just in a contractual marriage. There's no love between you. Do and use such underhanded tactics to threaten Blake just because you see and accept it and ruin my chance at happiness. Though she never said it outright, the accusation was crystal clear. I was the villain, the one who had maliciously destroyed her picture-perfect future. The online chatter around me grew louder, and soon, people had dug up my job details. Under Solomon Studios' official social media account, they unleashed a barrage of insults. Solomon tried to comfort me, telling me to ignore the trolls, assuring me that time would heal everything and this, too, would pass. But this time, Kendall's actions had gone too far. She hadn't just targeted me, she'd dragged everyone around me into the mess. Enough was enough. I retrieved my old phone, the one with all the arrogant messages from Kendall and Blake's desperate pleas to make me stay. With determination, I posted a public clarification using Solomon Studios' official account. Even if it's just a contractual marriage, you see and deny the truth, one of you betrayed, and the other simply turned a blind eye. And let's be clear, I never set out to ruin your happiness. It was your fiancé who shamelessly begged me to come back. The silence hung thick in the air. As soon as my post went live, it caught fire, spreading like wildfire across social media. The outraged netizens, once deceived, now lashed out, turning their fury toward Kendall. Realizing the public tide was turning against her, Kendall had no choice but to go live, her voice trembling with frustration. She accused Blake of being utterly ineffective, claiming he had a twisted mind for confessing his love to her when she was still underage. She painted him as a man who had cruelly betrayed her feelings. She dragged Blake's name through the mud, pulling him into the cruel light light of the public eye. But through it all, Blake remained silent, not a single word in his defense. And then, as if summoned by the storm of chaos he had helped stir, Blake appeared before me. He looked like a man who had slept in ages, the weariness of sleepless nights etched across his face, bloodshot veins streaking his eyes. When I first noticed him, he had come to a halt in the doorway of the studio. A few snowflakes drifted down, gently resting on his shoulders. He heard the sound, slowly lifting his gaze. His eyes widened in surprise when they met mine, then slowly reddened, as if the weight of the moment was too much to bear. Laura, his voice trembled, soft and pitiful, like a lost puppy searching for its master. I could recall the last time he had called me that. But now, there was a flicker of warmth in my heart. Is there something you need? I asked, my voice flat and devoid of emotion as I lowered my gaze. He raised his hand, his cold fingers brushing mine. His touch was light, almost pleading. I do want to divorce. Please come home with me. We can be like we were before. I promise. Like we were before. I interrupted him, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. You mean like before when you locked me in a cage of control, humiliated me with those women you brought home, and treated me like a servant to your precious lovers? Am I really so low in your eyes, Blake, that you think I'd ever go back? I could still hear the echo of his mocking voice, ridiculing my ignorance, dismissing my feelings as if they were nothing. But somehow, I didn't even hold it against him anymore. After all, the choices I made were mine alone to bear. The 5 years I spent shackled by my own decisions had come at a steep price. But those 5 years were a result of my own choosing. And now, the path I took was no longer shaped by anyone but my own heart. I will do it again, I promise. I swear, I'll never do it again. Blake's eyes were bloodshot, his steps slow and hesitant as he edged closer to me. I thought I had always loved Kendall, but it was until you left, until you slipped away completely from my life, that I truly realized. I've spent every waking moment searching for you, but you were nowhere to be found. Now, I finally know what it feels like to lose everything. I'm not sure if this is love, but I know one thing, I do want to lose you. I want to be with you forever. Please come back to me. I swear I'll love you the way you deserve. I furrowed my brow, my heart still as cold and unyielding as stone. I used to believe you were my light, I said, my voice steady but cold. Before Kendall, you were the one who saved me from my own hell. You were my God, the one I thought I'd be with forever. But Blake, it took me 5 years to truly see you for who you are. Now, when I look at you, all I feel is disgust and hatred, the same way you once looked at me. Do ever come near me again. Without you, my life is nothing but better. I turned sharply, walking past him, my steps echoing in the empty space between us. Blake's voice echoed through the air, each desperate shout of my name thick with sorrow. But not once did my steps slow or falter. When I left work that evening, he was still waiting by the door. The snow had settled on his shoulders, forming a heavy, unmoving blanket. His face, pale and frozen, seemed to reflect the emptiness inside him. The security guard told me he hadn't eaten or drunk a single thing, having waited there all day without rest. Laura, I will give up. I truly believe I love you now, and I'll wait for the day you change your mind. This time, I didn't spare him a single word. True to his word, Blake showed up almost every day, standing by the entrance and following me home like a lost puppy. Some of my colleagues, moved by his persistence, tried to sway me, urging me to reconsider. Maybe, they said, if I gave him another chance, I could find a new kind of happiness. I just smiled, unable to find the words to explain that the only thing I could find now was peace. If you'd seen the man you once loved bring 99 women home, night after night, for 5 long years, you'd think differently. The colleague fell silent, and the next day, she looked at Blake with nothing but disdain in her eyes. Half a month later, Blake disappeared. Riker told me Blake had ended up in prison. It was Kendall who had reported him, accusing him of involvement in shady dealings, which led to everything being seized, along with a mountain of debt that crushed him. In a fit of fury, Blake lashed out at Kendall, beating her within an inch of her life. Her face was left scarred, and both her legs were broken. She cried like a broken doll in court, and in the end, Blake was sentenced to 5 years behind bars. Another 5 years. It seemed as if the number would haunt me forever, but I was fine. I had moved on. The future that awaited me was vibrant, full of color and possibilities. The next time I saw Blake was 5 years later. I had just opened my own personal design exhibition, stepping out of the hall, surrounded by admiring faces. In the crowd, my gaze caught a familiar figure almost instantly. He was hiding in the back, and though his usual calm eyes were now filled with panic, he couldn't escape the connection. As soon as our eyes met, he quickly turned away, like a man caught in the act. 5 years. He stood there, just as I had been once, cast aside by the world, with nothing left to hold onto. I passed by him, my gaze deliberately avoiding him. Laura, his desperate cry echoed behind me. I paused, turning slowly to face him. Just one more chance. Let's talk, okay? A smile tugged at the corners of my lips. Who's this beggar? Someone call security. Get him out of my sight. I do one feel like him straining my eyes. Some things could never be forgotten. Some scars could never be healed, not in this lifetime. I could never reconcile with the Blake I once knew, no matter the price he had to pay. As I gazed at my designs displayed on the screen of the tall building nearby, a sense of peace washed over me. What became of him from this point on was none of my concern. As for me, I had already embraced my new life, one filled with promise.